Hello, hello. I hope this is working. Should be live on Facebook, on YouTube at the moment. Hello. Hi, Tigresa, how are you? Let's see, is Facebook working? This looks like, it looks like it's working on Facebook for a change. That's great. And now for Instagram. So hopefully, hello everyone. I hope you are able to see me now on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube. It's very good to be back with you, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions about language learning. Hello, hello, welcome. How's it going? Good to see you. Okay, nice to see you all joining. Thank you for coming and for spending time with me to talk about our favorite topic, which is languages, of course. It's really good. Hello, everyone joining there. Wow, good to see you all coming in. I've got to say, on Instagram, the names are so long and with lots of numbers, it takes me a lot to read and read them out. You're definitely testing me here. Hello. Hi, Natalia. Hi, Diane. Hello. Hi, Daniel from Facebook. Hello. Hi, Daniel. Nice to see you. Or Daniele, sorry, should I say. I read it as English then, didn't I? Daniele. Hope you don't mind me anglifying your name there. Or anglicizing your name, should I say. Hello. Hi, Lincoln. Hi, Ryan. Nice to see you. See ya. Hi, good to see you. Hi, como? Nos está. Ja, diolch. Iawn. Sut mae pethau mynd? Hello, everyone. Hi, Tom. Hi, the Spezia. Yeah, I'm trying my best to get everyone's names right, so I hope I don't offend anyone with if you get your nicknames wrong when I say them. So, hope you're doing well. I've actually invested in a new lamp, so hopefully the lighting is a bit better than normal. Tell me if you think that the lighting is better, or if I should go back to sitting in the dark. Saludos desde México. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Todo bien? ¿Qué tal estamos? Muy bien. It's Chris, not John. Hello, Chris, not John. Nice to see you. Sorry. Did I say that? Am I getting things wrong? Hello from Peru. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Wow. Which language can you speak? Oh, I can speak a few languages. My English is not bad. So I'm kind of starting. Bonjour, bonsoir, bonjour, bonsoir. J'imagine que tu es au Québec si tu me dis bonjour. Ici, c'est plutôt bonsoir parce que c'est tard. Ici, il y a 7 heures. C'est 7 heures ici. Saludos desde Argentina. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Todo bien? Ajá. Salam. Serira, salam. Okay, hello. What do you think about using Anki? And have I used good SRS? Good question. So Anki is something that a lot of people really love and go by, and they swear by Anki. I've used it in the past. I've got to say that I go through phases where I sometimes use it, sometimes I'm not that into it. At the moment, I'm not that into it. I think it's because I much prefer the whole context thing, and I think I recognize that I need to use things in sort of the way they were intended. So words in context for me is kind of king, and getting to use like words, and I accept that I'm going to forget them, have to be reminded of them, and then use them again and again and again to get them right eventually. So I kind of don't worry too much about Anki. But if it works for you, great stuff. It works well for a lot of people. So yeah, buonasera, tutto bene? I'm currently trying to learn some Italian. Okay, very cool. So you're learning some Italian, but currently doing some weights. Oh wow, that sounds very. So Chris, please do take care if you're doing weights. Listening to me and doing weights. Do I use Duolingo? Yuki, ohayo gozaimasu. Nice. Okay, genki desu ka? Genki desu. ありがとうございます。すみません。でも、私の日本語のちょっと okay. Do I use Duolingo? I actually don't really use Duolingo, no, unfortunately. I've played with it before. I kind of I guess it's just not my cup of tea in terms of an application to use. I prefer other things. I think it's a very positive thing, though, for people to get into language, people to have access to certain languages that maybe they wouldn't usually have access to, and also for people to make language learning popular. So I like it for that. Merhaba, nasılsınız, iyi misiniz? Peruluyum. Perulusun. Değil mi? Ama Türkçe konuşuyorsun. Maşallah. Okay, İspanyolca konuşuyorum. Çok iyi. Ben de. Çok iyi. Do you use a tandem app? I don't know the tandem app with Brown. I don't know it. You can ask a question. How do you think you can best manage language learning schedule considering I'm very busy with uni? Well, you have to agree how much time you have, decide when you have time to do things, and make time. I say make time, obviously, it's only the time that you actually physically have, right? And I would say that the best thing to do really is to divide your day up, see when you have times to do active study, pick at least 2 times during the week where you can do active study, and then the rest of the time use your travel time or your downtime to think about the language, to revise your notes, and to do something that's kind of less intensive, but more revising what you've done in your active hours of study. So that's what I would say that you should do if you've got a busy university life. What do I think of Mondly? I don't think anything really. I don't know Mondly very well at all, I'm afraid. Hi, Andreas. Nice to see you. The hardest language I've ever studied, is it Finnish? Actually, no, it's not Finnish. I found Georgian to be the most challenging so far. I think because of all the consonant clusters and the very, very different grammar. Finnish, strangely enough, I did it for like 2 months in Finland, and I could imagine myself speaking Finnish. I'm not going to say that it's an easy language, definitely. No language is easy to the point that you would say that it's easy. But I think because the way you form the sentences feels more similar, more akin to some of the sentence structure in the European languages to get your basic point across, it felt doable. Whereas, Georgian felt like it would take a little bit more effort for me. No, I don't know Persian, unfortunately. I wish I could learn it. I hope I will get to learn it one day. Apprendre le vocabulaire. Ok. Alors, comment apprenez-vous le vocabulaire? Donc, moi, je fais comme ça, en fait. Ok. Reprendre en anglais ou en français, je sais pas maintenant. Je suis désolé, je viens de voir ça après. Okay, so when I'm learning vocabulary, I learn it in context usually. So I watch things, read things, and the vocabulary comes with practicing the language, usually. But so every now and again, if I need specific vocabulary, I will learn the vocabulary that I need for example, my life or what I want to express, and then repeating it over and over again will help the vocabulary fit, sort of work for me. Can I speak Finnish? Okay. Mä opin suomea Helsingin yliopistossa, mutta nyt en puhu suomea. En puhu suomea nyt. No, I don't speak unfortunately anymore. I did. I can say basic things in Finnish, but not enough for a decent conversation. 4 años aprendiendo el español, los últimos 5 meses teniendo motivación. No sé cómo voy a seguir. Un poco consejo por favor. Vale, lo bueno es que hay que hacer un poco cada día, no tener miedo de cometer fallos. Por ejemplo, para mí es normal en cada idioma, incluso en inglés, que es mi idioma. Lo bueno es que con idiomas es que hay que mirar cosas que para ti, que sean cosas interesantes. Eso es la cosa importante. Por ejemplo, para mí yo tenía eso con albanés durante años y años, sin aprender mucho más, y luego ahora mismo aquí en casa pues tengo tiempo para tener clases, encuentros en línea para practicar mi albanés, y también tengo la tele en albanés y pues veo la tele ahora y miro la tele siempre y escucho noticias y tal y cual en albanés, y así poco a poco voy subiendo así mi nivel de albanés, y así hay que hacerlo en español también. Si llevas tanto tiempo estudiando el español, pues hace falta más tiempo para aprender más vocabulario y ir adelante, creo. Eso es igual con cada idioma. Es que no se puede aprender así de fácil. Son idiomas que hacen falta años y años para aprenderlo bien. Evet biraz çok iyi maşallah. Sen dobrý den, jak se máme? Okay. Ben de bir poliglot olmak istiyorum. Çok iyi. Formum. Sen şimdi ne konuşuyorsun? Let me see. Any other questions here? Wow. Confused all the time. Okay. Improving the use of cases. Cases, I say learn as and when you can. Don't worry too much about cases. Otherwise, it gets a bit crazy if you try and learn them as tables, I think. Hey, Joakim, hur mår du? Efter inspiration, jag kan vi komma blockdown Stockholm. Så kan vi ta, ja, det kan vi göra. Vi kan fika i Stockholm, det skulle jag gärna göra. Ja, det är fint att göra det. Ja, Stockholm är en sån fin stad. Okay, let me see. Gå och se det. Jag går och se det också. Ja, tack. So the lighting seems about the same to me. Oh dear, Ryan. I was hoping it'd be better. I was hoping maybe it was good last time. Who knows? Maybe I just look lovely in every light. You know, I bought this very posh lamp here so that it would maybe look a bit better. But it can't work miracles. What can we do? Okay, ¿has visitado Machu Picchu en Perú? No, aún no. Me gustaría ver Machu Picchu, pero no, aún no he tenido la oportunidad para visitar Perú. Can you reach C1 level in Italian and Portuguese in 3 to 5 months? If you study all day and you already know Spanish, hey, you can try. Potentially, if you try very, very hard and you study it a lot and you're speaking it constantly, possibly you can try and sit the exam and see if you get to that level. I'd like to ask why you'd want to do that though. I had to do that for German years and years ago. It's the only time I had to learn a language to a high level quickly, and honestly, not something that I particularly recommend to people. I think it's better to take your time, because if you're not then using it constantly after you've learnt it, you find that the language disappears as quickly as you learnt it. 10 years to learn. Okay, will I take 10 years to learn Korean, Japanese, and Chinese? Yeah, it will probably take you about 10 years to learn Korean, Japanese, and Chinese to a very, very high level. Depends what you want to use them for. People can start saying things in Chinese fairly quickly, I think. It's just that if you want to speak it to a high level, it depends what you need it for, you know. To learn basics of Chinese, to sort of introduce yourself, get by in basic daily communications. You know, I did a year and a half at university, and after that time, I could definitely get my basic points across about what I wanted to say, but it wasn't particularly great, but it was okay for general communication. Andaluz. Me encanta el español andaluz. Muchas gracias. Es que pega más al acento andaluz por eso. Es que aprendí también de malagueño, por eso lo hablo así. Okay. You used to see between Hungarian and French similarities between Hungarian and French, Ryan. I think you probably know that better than I would. You could probably answer that question way better than me. But yeah, I mean, Hungarian and Finnish. I read it as French. My eyesight's obviously failing me. I actually don't find Hungarian and Finnish very similar at all. I find Hungarian much more akin to the other Balkan type languages. So there's like with the Turkish, it feels very Turkified to me, Hungarian, whenever I hear it. It doesn't. I know that the link's been made. I know that the link was made a long time ago, but yeah, I don't feel that they're that close at all. I think there are only 5 words that actually are the same, that mean the same. Even the word for blood and water is the same word, but means blood and water in one and the other. Valenciano, sí, ¿por qué no? A ver, en Valencia, language en Valencia, sí, me gustaría. ¿Por qué no, Antonio? Sí, ¿por qué no? Mira, podríamos hacer algo. A ver, después del virus. Es que ahora mismo estamos esperando lo que pasa aquí, porque ahora mismo no tenemos ni idea. La verdad es que solamente para salir del país, es que estoy esperando ahora que abran la frontera. A ver qué va a pasar. Este mes que tenemos que esperar un poco más, y luego en junio espero saber un poco más. Y por eso también para la conferencia Polyglot estamos esperando ahora mismo. A ver, pero sí que me gustaría, me encantaría. Um, an experience of monotone speech and lack of emotion in a foreign language. Yeah, sometimes you feel that in some languages. It can be, um, some languages can feel monotone, or sometimes you can bring a monotone tone to a language that has a tone, for example. That can absolutely happen. Um, I think each language you have to kind of get into it. There's kind of a spirit and a sort of a way, a porosity. So it's good to listen to the language as a constant stream, whether it's radio, TV, or music, or whatever, or a mixture of all of those things, and to get into the way that the language sounds. So it's not just about the pronunciation and the accent; it's about the porosity as well, for sure. Can you make a career out of languages? I hope so. I think I have. I'm, I'm the languages director for a social media management agency called The Social Element, and I've been working in at The Social Element now for 12 years. And before that, I used my languages in various roles, from technical services. I worked as technical support, and I worked in marketing department, and I've worked in customer services, and I've taught languages in the past. I've also helped with translations and proofreading in the past too. I've done a number of different things. So yeah, there's lots of things you can do with languages. Right now, yeah, it's social media and languages and cultures, and how to manage social media projects across languages and cultures is my main occupation. Wow, thank you very much for your kind words. I really appreciate it. Wow, thank you, Marcus. Thank you. Okej, men på dig i Norge. Ja, tack. Ja, många tack. Jag vill resa till Norge. Efter viruset nu. Men det är inte så lätt att resa till Norge nu för tiden, för att med virusen gör ingen flyg till Norge från Skopje. Jeg kan bare jeg kan ikke gå nå til Bulgarien eller Hellas. Det er tyvärr der. Ja, det er ikke øbne. De er ikke øbne for meg. How's my Norwegian getting on? Is it sounding a bit more Norwegian? Last time I tried that when one of these live things, I just ended up speaking total Swedish. Hopefully, just because that was the second time I've had to do that in a few weeks, and my Norwegian's coming back again. Ok, cool. So, tudo bem, obrigado. Sim, tudo bem, Carolina. Tudo bem com você também? Sim. Okay, Richard, do you think that Vladimir Scotetti would pass as an American native speaker? Vladimir Scotetti is an amazing speaker of English. He speaks English at what I would say a native level. I don't know how important it is to pass as a native 100% of the time. Certainly, he is one of the best speakers of English. Somebody who wasn't born speaking or grew up speaking English, should I say? He's one of the best that I've ever heard, and that's the highest compliment I think I can give to somebody. I've never heard somebody speak English 100% of the time who didn't grow up speaking it, where I think that they did grow up speaking it, if that makes sense. But for me, what's important is not that you sound like a native, it's that you have a command. If you have a command at a native level, that they deserve respect, whatever. And Vladimir would definitely be there for me for that. He's absolutely brilliant, and not just English, a number of languages. He's a truly remarkable person, and I like him a lot as a friend. He's a very nice guy. So yeah, thank you for the question about Vlad. He's lovely. Let me see. So what can I do for improving my cases? I think I did that one. I'm trying to catch up on all of these messages. I'm so sorry if I'm a bit slow. Okay, how many languages can you actually translate and interpret? I'm not an interpreter or a translator, so I would not do that usually. I would help and assist people if they have translations or things to communicate and to find the right phrasing. So I'd sometimes do that, but it's not my role, unfortunately. So I would never say that I do any of that. Probably my C2 and C1 languages. Possibly. I mean, I can do it in a kind of a casual way, in a non sort of professional way. I can, of course, I can translate and interpret in those terms, and often do for because I live in a multilingual context. Please, can you give me some strategies for learning languages? Yep, absolutely. So, strategies for learning languages. Important to decide why you're learning a language, what you want to achieve, and when you want to achieve it. So I talk about SMART goals, so things that you can measure. So for example, let's say you start a new language and you say, this time next week, I want to be able to talk about my name, where I'm from, my family, and a basic introduction about who you are and where you're from. That's a nice goal for the first week. The second week, you want to talk maybe about the weather. The third week, you want to talk about your job, what you do for a living, where you went to school, maybe, I don't know. It could be all sorts of things like that. You could talk about your hobbies maybe in the third week. But you set yourself a very specific goal. And the specific goal means that you learn vocabulary that's A, relevant to you and you're going to use over and over again. B, you can then look back a week later and then see, can I actually do what I said I was going to do or what I wanted to do? And if you can, you know you've met your goal and you know that you've learned the language to that level. And then you carry on each week doing that. And that's what I say is the most important thing. And then to be able to do that, you need to find people that are going to help you on the way, whether that's a language partner, language teacher, or whether or not you're going to find books that will help you on your way or a course. And I often like courses, I like language books as well, but find some materials that really appeal to you and you know you want to get them up. So Tim is asking me on here, how do you say hummingbird in Portuguese and Japanese? So Tim, I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to tell everybody what we're doing. So Tim Keeley and I were talking on a quick call before I started the live event, and Tim asked me about the word for hummingbird, which is colibri in many languages around the world, particularly Indo-European languages. In Portuguese, you can also say beija-flor, which means a flower kisser, but there are a number of other Portuguese words as well. And the Japanese word, you're going to kill me now, Tim, because it's gone out of my head, but it was something to do with a bee bird, and Dori is bird, but I can't remember what the bee was. It's gone out of my head, unfortunately. But yes, I like that you're saying that. Context is king. Yes, it is, Tim. I'm glad you agree with me. Thank you. Let's see if you can remind me of the word in Japanese, Tim, as well. Let's see. Okay, ahoy, Jeske, ahoy, jak se máme, Valshek? Okay, been following for many years. You're amazing. Thank you very much, Robert. That's very kind of you. That's really sweet. Zdravo, zdravo, kakos. Dobra si? Jetel. Janela, kako? Ti zboriš makedonski, taka, neli? Jaz mislim, da nije, zborуваме два пъти нещо така. Вака ама напишат ме няколко пораки или нещо така. Können Sie bitte zu mir sagen, welche Sprache ist Ihre Lieblingssprache jetzt? Also für mich, Young, Deutsch ist immer noch meine Lieblingssprache. Ich finde Deutsch toll und einfach, ja, eine sehr süße Sprache eigentlich, weil ich eigentlich mit Kindern die Sprache gelernt habe. Und deshalb sage ich das. Und das bleibt immer noch so. Okay. Let's go to, okay, wow, let's see. Have any experience with sign languages? So I do, Vashek, I do have experience with sign languages. I studied British Sign Language for a year in the UK, and then unfortunately left the UK and moved to the Balkans. And just before the coronavirus struck and I was locked in at home, I was learning Macedonian Sign Language. and I love sign languages, and I wish I could learn more of them. I went to the US a year or so ago and went to a sign language Starbucks, an ASL Starbucks cafe in Washington, DC. And it's amazing. So you basically go there and they have all pictures of how you can sign the different alphabets in ASL. ASL uses a different sign language. So I learned the other day on Instagram, this is toilet in ASL. So if you want to go to the US and you need to go into that Starbucks cafe and you don't know where the toilet is, toilet, that's a T for toilet, and then where is this, which is the same as well actually in British English, in British Sign Language we use this is where, with your two hands like this. Where, and in America it's this, in ASL it's this. Um, I'd love to learn more of them. I'd like to learn ASL actually. I bought a course online and still haven't finished it. Um, okay, let me see. Richard, I've been a fan of yours. Oh, that's very nice of you, Chase. Thank you. A question about focusing on particular accent dialect and how to get about writing those resources with a native speaker. From what area? I've been trying to see in the frequency dictionary. Okay, I'm not one of those people that uses a frequency dictionary. I've got to be honest. I find that normally the words that are most frequent for me sometimes might be different than for someone else, because I find idiolects come into this quite a lot with language learning. So Globus made a land. Okay. So I personally, I don't particularly pick an accent or a dialect myself. Chase, I really don't. I find that what happens is that accent or dialect picks me. And so I just happen to have learned how to speak Spanish in an Andalusian way because I lived with people from Andalusia and they spoke to me in that way and I just spoke back to them. So it was never a case of me learning or going out to learn Andalusian Spanish pronunciation. It was never a goal of mine or an objective. The same thing with Macedonian. I speak standard Macedonian from the centre of Macedonia, and again, it just happens to be because that's where my wife's from. I don't speak the Skopje dialect, for example. It's not my natural way of speaking. I know the words and I know a lot of the expressions from Skopje, but it's not the way I speak. And the same from east of Macedonia. I know some of the expressions and ways of speaking from there as well, and I can mimic some of the accents too, but I don't use them as my normal standard way of speaking. A similar thing as well for other languages like German. I can imitate a kind of a Swiss accent, but because I had a lot of friends in Zurich, so I can mimic a little bit of that. So like for example, I know how to count still in Zurich dudes. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If anyone understands or believes me, but yeah, but otherwise, it's more grüezi, wie geht's? Ja, ist gut, dort, ja. Ich kann ja ein bisschen nachmachen, oder, aber ist nicht so. Ja, für mich Deutsch ist so eigentlich, wie ich die Sprache eigentlich in Deutschland gelernt habe. Das ist für mich am natürlichsten. So I never do that. Chase, is there a language that you particularly want to do that? I'd be interested in knowing why you choose a particular dialect or accent in a language. Is it purely because you find it more pleasing to the ear, or is there another reason behind it? En français, vous êtes fort. Merci, c'est gentil. Je l'ai appris quand j'étais très jeune. Donc pour moi, le français, c'est même pas comme une langue étrangère. Je parle même avec ma fille. Donc je parle français de la France, bien sûr. C'est le français européen que je parle à la maison. Et puis j'ai appris un peu le québécois quand là, je suis allé au Québec et j'ai essayé de parler avec les Québécois comme ça. Mais j'adore le québécois. J'adore l'intonation de la langue au Canada, mais je parle pas très bien. Je parle un peu comme ça, mais enfin, c'est ça. I love it. I love one of the differences in Québécois actually that I really like is tu sais-tu que je parle québécois? Do you know it's like almost like the English do you know the tu sais-tu that you'd never use in European French? I love it. J'espère que je parle français. D'accord, très bien. Donc voyons. C'est donc difficile. Oui, ouais, en fait, je ne sais pas, c'est difficile. Ça, pour moi, c'est normal, mais Mais peut-être c'est difficile pour quelques personnes la prononciation est assez, ouais, assez spécifique, disons quoi. OK. 我会说一点儿中文，因为我在大连那的大学学中文，因为我在加拿大的大学学中文，但是现在我不要说中文，因为我都说中文。Okay, let me see if I can see anything else I can answer here. I'm getting quite a few messages here in Chinese. I think I've explained how badly my Chinese is already. How badly I speak it, sorry, should I say. Also, Richard, Zoslovenska, okay. Conference online. Yeah, Peter Balash, nice to see you here. I'm going to be speaking at the Polyglot gathering at the end of this month online, and I think we've already got 800 people plus already signed up for the Polyglot gathering. Amazing thing to do, fantastic achievement, Peter and the team. So the Polyglot gathering is happening online this year, of course, with COVID-19. It couldn't unfortunately take place as planned in Poland. So it's going online, and there are 800 people plus signed up already. So please do feel free to join us. It's going to be a fun event. I'm going to be talking about, well, my question is, when can you say you speak a language? And I asked the question to people on all of my social media channels, and the answers were extremely diverse and extremely interesting to read. And they're going to help me formulate my answer to that question during the online presentation at the end of this month. So please do join the Polyglot gathering. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Dziękuję, Peter. Chanel, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. How are you? I'm very well, thank you, Chanel. It's lovely to see you. Chanel, you're an absolute hero of mine. It's really lovely to have you with us. Thank you so much for all you give to the community as well with your podcasts. You're waiting for your dog vet appointment. Okay, wow. So I hope everything goes well with your dog. And enjoy. It's lovely to see you with us. Thank you for coming. Honza, окей, на каком языке говоришь лучше, на чешском или на русском? Я думаю, что я говорю лучше по-чешски, потому что я изучал там в Праге, я был там на университете, и поэтому это было для меня... Я был там один год в университете там, и я студовал чешский язык. Но это было как диплома чешского языка там для студентов, которые хотят студовать на чешском, на самом деле, на университете. И поэтому я думаю, что это будет лучше для меня. Но я думаю, что, в принципе, говорить по-русски я могу говорить по-русски, я знаю говорить по-русски. Хорошо, я не бы сказал, но это достаточно, чтобы я могу общаться с людьми по-русски без проблем. И тоже и без английского. Но я думаю, что я по-чешски говорю лучше, да. Да. Я никогда не изучал русский. Это только так я говорю, потому что я изучал русский в Молдавии, в принципе, только на улице. И там надо говорить и по-русски, по-румынски тоже. Я никогда не изучал как с книгами. Это было только так, как хобби. Okay, so Vashek, I want to learn a language, sort of sign languages, but can't decide which one. So Vashek, I would say the language that you would learn for sign language should really be the one that you want to fit where you live, because then you can go to a center for deaf and hard of hearing people who use sign language, and then you'd actually get to do it. So So yeah, learn the sign language of the country you're in, I would say, is the best way to do it. Here in the Balkans, a number of people, or the younger people, tend to learn the international sign language as well. So there is an international sign language, and it tends to have a lot of words from ASL and BSL in it, as I believe. That's what I'm told by the deaf community here. And they tend to use those, and they tend to mix it with the local sign language, which is kind of a shame because they're diluting it. But they do that because when they go to international events, people tend to learn that language to be able to communicate with each other. So you may want to go for an international sign language if there's a course. I have personally never seen a course really that I've found easily. I've got to be honest. And speaking about dialects, what about your Bavarian? Hansa, my Bavarian is non-existent. So, no, unfortunately not. Maria Camus, I love it. Camus, I have this thing where when I started learning Indonesian, Maria the only word I knew, the first word I knew in Indonesian was Camus, which means dictionary. So I used to say Camus for everything, and I love it. But I do love Indonesian. Saya suka bicara dalam bahasa Indonesia. Apa kabar Maria? Baik. How do I study? Good question, Hussein. So I study a lot and as often as I possibly can. I just love languages, so I'm studying constantly. I find that actually, for me, I listen to TV, I have it on in the background, I have radio on in the background all the time, constantly thinking about languages. I study with books. I take at least 2 active hours a week to study, and then that's what I try and do most of the time, so that I move on little by little every day. But I can't rush things because it takes so long to learn a language. It's just one of those things. It takes a while. Hey, Bar, nice to see you. I've not seen you in a while. What was the hardest language for me to learn and why? Bar, it was Georgian. I found Georgian to be the most challenging so far. Hopefully I'll get back to it at some point and I will learn it because I would love to be able to speak Georgian. It's a beautiful language. And I loved going to Tbilisi last year. I loved it. Bonjour Aslan, ça va? Ouais, très bien. Tu adores quand je parle français. Ah, merci, c'est gentil. Merci Aslan. Ça va bien? Kia ora, Richard. Ah, kia ora, Brett. Enami nuki koto katoa. Que te pahe koe? Unfortunately, my spoken Maori is still woefully lacking. I've been studying Maori for a while now. It's probably like maybe 3-4 months, and still I'm still very, very basic when I ever try and say anything. I'm reading stories in Maori, so at the moment what I'm doing with Maori is a little bit different to other languages I've studied. So I can show you my Maori book. Would you like to see my Maori book? This is so basically what I do is I have a story and I start writing. So I write out the story in my book, and then with my teacher, Alec, who's a really, really nice guy in New Zealand, we read the Maori. So I have the Maori story here, and then we read it, and then I make notes over words and different types of grammatical structures. So today, in fact, today we weren't doing a story. Today we were doing a song. So I have a song in Maori, and it's actually from Moana. What's it called in English? So in Maori, it's called Tukuna O, and it's basically a song from Moana, which is How Far I'll Go, I think it is in English. And I love this song in Maori, and I wanted to understand exactly all of it and what it was saying, if it was a proper direct translation or if there's anything interesting grammatically I could get out of it. So yeah, love, love, love Maori. It's a very special language for me, and I'm working on it, taking time, but hopefully in the next year or so I'll start being able to say a little bit more. And Brett, one of my plans now is to go back through your interview with Asha and actually write it down so that I can learn to say more things myself in Maori. Yeah, tenakwe, Brett tenakwe. Let's see. Do your languages get rusty? Absolutely, Tony, they get rusty. I don't mind. And I find that all languages get rusty too, even at different levels. they can get rusty. That's fine. It's normal, natural. And when I need them, I get back into them, and that's simply what I do. I don't stress about it or worry about it. J'ai un peu la même méthode pour apprendre une langue, mais pas aussi poussée. D'accord. En fait, pour moi, c'est un peu, ouais, c'est un peu bizarre en fait ce que je fais en ce moment. D'habitude, je fais pas comme ça. D'habitude, en fait, ce que je fais, je prends un livre, je fais des chapitres d'habitude comme un livre de colloquial, assimile ou bien teach yourself. Et puis, j'essaie d'adapter les textes et les dialogues selon mes besoins. En fait, c'est ça que je fais d'habitude. Wow, okay. Honza, my 10 strongest languages in order. I can't do it in descending order. It's very difficult to do things like that. So my home languages are English, French, Spanish, German, and Macedonian. They're the languages I speak at home. They're I guess, the 5 of my stronger languages. And then my Dutch is pretty strong because I lived in the Netherlands and worked in Dutch for 2 years. I have a degree in Italian, so my Italian's fairly strong. I don't know how I choose between a lot of the others because there are lots that are kind of at different levels. But yeah, there's probably a number of others that I can more than get by in and speak to a fairly advanced level. So Portuguese, for example, I studied at university. So and then also I have an advanced diploma in Czech, and then I also use a number of other languages, but it's very difficult to pin them all down and to put them in an order. I find that very difficult. It's not how I think usually. I'm sorry, I'm kind of a bit vague, but it is a difficult question, unfortunately, to answer. Pozdrawiam z Polski. Dziękuję bardzo. Jak się mamy w Polsce, no toż bardzo, bardzo chętnie słucham polski, dlatego że no, teraz w Macedonii ja nie słucham bardzo język polski tutaj. To jest bardzo, bardzo no dziwne, w Macedonii nie ma Polaków za dużo. Także mamy Polacy, ale oni mówią bardzo dobrze po makedońsku. Także ja nie wiem, jeśli są Polacy lub nie. I'm your friend from Morocco. Hello, Yasin, nice to meet you. Nice to see you there. Can I speak Arabic? I know a few words of Arabic. I've studied it before. I've studied Arabic, but I don't really speak it actively. So my Arabic is kind of like أنا طالب لغة عربية ولكن أنا ما أتكلم اللغة العربية. Unfortunately, I would love to speak it better. I'll have to get back into it. You look for word meaning individually or always giving it to a context. So yeah, sometimes I do look for Fernando. I do sometimes look up words if I want to know specific words. So I needed the word in Indonesian the other day for what was the word in English for. I've got it in Macedonian in my head. Lastovica. Lastovica is a swallow. So I needed a swallow. The word for swallow and my Indonesian teacher said she thought it was Gunung Yaled. But Gunung Yaled is a swift, which is a slightly different bird, and it's Gunung Layang Layang, I think it is in Indonesian. So sometimes if I need a word like that at a specific time, yes, I will look it up. I'll probably forget it though, unless I get to repeat it over and over again. And I'm probably making 100 mistakes in my Indonesian now as I say that. But I was talking about, and I think I remember this word correctly, sarang, sarang, sarang. Sarang is the Indonesian word for a nest, because we had some swallows building swallow nests in our house. And so I was telling my Indonesian teacher about that. And that was a fun thing to try and do in Indonesian when I'm terrible at the language. In my experience, how do you fix monotone speech? I think monotone speech in a foreign language. I think I think I've already answered that in a different channel. I saw it maybe on another channel. So yeah, I'd listen to things for prosody, like radio, TV, songs, those kinds of things, and that helps a lot. Which is, what's your preferred way? Okay, I think some of these questions I think I've seen on a couple of different places. Muchas gracias por el consejo. ¿Alguna novedad con la conferencia de Políglota? Pues la conferencia de Políglota ahora vamos a tener un live también en Facebook, YouTube y también en Instagram este domingo a las 10 hora de Cholula, a las 5 hora de aquí, de Europa, de París y tal y cual. Así que vamos a tratar de esto. Tenemos que decidir un poco más lo que vamos a hacer, pero vamos a hablar un poco más de esto en este domingo. Así si quiere, puedes venir. Um, Nice to see you all joining, by the way. Thank you all for coming. Learning tables works much better for me. Yeah, I mean, people sometimes do find so angry balls. Nice to see you, angry balls. But yes, if learning tables works for you, go for it. Everyone's different. There's no one way to learn a language. There are many ways, and you've got to learn what works for you. If you find that what works for you and you like it, go for it. John, I find I sound native in every language. Oh wow, if only that were the case, hey? I'm not so worried about sounding native personally. As long as I'm understood, I'm happy, and that's the most important thing for me. But thank you very much for the compliment. That's very kind. Slavinovic, the best way to learn features not existing in another tongue, language, one masters. Okay, yeah. So that's a good question. That takes a lot of practice. If there are concepts and things that don't exist in a language you already speak, and you're learning that language and you want to speak it and master those concepts, that just takes time, unfortunately. So just to give you an example, in Macedonian and in Turkish, there is a past tense form that doesn't exist in any other Indo-European language of which I'm aware, where you are not there to witness an event, and there's a different past tense form. So this is normal in Turkic languages, but also exists in Macedonian, and native monolingual Macedonian speakers tend not to really master that ability until about the age of like 9 or 10 anyway themselves, because it just takes so much time to learn it and have it explained to you. And yeah, that just takes time. So yeah, time and patience. Oh, I see some beautiful Hangul there. I'm learning some Hangul, but I don't speak Korean, unfortunately. Hopefully one day, who knows? I would love to learn. El catalán, si sé hablar catalán, sí, hablo catalán y estoy aprendiendo vasco ahora mismo, de hecho, y gallego sí que lo entiendo bien porque hablo portugués, hablo español, catalán y otros idiomas del grupo también, así que el gallego sí que lo entiendo bien. No falo galego, pero entiendo. Y porque también tenía amigos en Galicia, así que tenía un poco de contacto con el gallego. Había una chica gallega, de hecho, en la universidad conmigo, estaba estudiando portugués conmigo. Y así que ella siempre hablaba, después de 2 años de estudios de portugués, continuaba a hablar gallego. Así que solo hablaba gallego. Any tips for learning Slavic languages? Yeah, I think focusing on the words and trying to learn them in context, getting these sort of learning things in context is really important. In Slavic languages, I think the most alien concepts really are obviously cases for a number of them are alien for a lot of people. But by far, I think the the most difficult thing to get right and to know how to correct are the verb forms, because there are perfective and imperfective verbs in Slavic languages, and they take a lot of time to get right, because you can say the wrong verb form, but it still makes sense. It just has a different meaning to the meaning you think you're giving out from what's in your head. And you only learn that over time, speaking to native speakers and getting feedback that doesn't really agree with what you expect to hear back from them, and making lots of mistakes. I know that from years and years of practicing them and making lots of mistakes. So yes, it is literally that with Slavic languages, with any language, but with Slavic languages in particular. It takes time to get used to those consonant clusters, to get used to the different ways of changing the nouns depending on case. And I'd say learn them all in context. So if you need to know how to go by bus, learn it as a set phrase in the beginning, particularly autobusum or whatever it is, because if you start learning the different cases as tables, it can get confusing. If, like somebody mentioned to me, they enjoy doing it, go for it. Try doing it both ways. Why not? Nothing's stopping you doing both ways. So yeah. Let me see. Eastern Sitna is slow. Okay. It looks like the YouTube channel, unfortunately, has gone a bit crazy. So thank you all for coming over to Instagram from YouTube, if you can make it. So you're welcome all over here as well. Do I agree that language learning, it becomes easier after learning many? John, definitely it becomes easier in the sense that you have a lot more hooks to hang things on, so you can memorize things more easily because you have more sounds that you learn as you learn more languages. You have more grammatical ideas and concepts that you learn, and so it becomes easier in the sense that they become more memorable a lot more easily for you. So I would say yes, in that sense, it does become easier. You still need to put in a lot of work to learn them because, and you have an added complication of sometimes words will be the same or very similar or sound similar. So I gave an example, I think, once where I had this with Maori in Indonesian, where the word for word in Maori is kupu, and so two words or more words is kupu kupu in Indonesia, in Maori, and then in Indonesian, the word for word is kata, and lots of words are kata kata, so you duplicate the word to make it plural. And I was in my Indonesian class, and instead of saying words, I said kupu kupu in Indonesian, and kupu kupu in Indonesian actually is a word as well. It means butterfly. So instead of saying words, I said, oh yeah, and I couldn't think of the butterfly. And I was like, okay. But so that kind of thing happens. But to be honest, it becomes more fun. And as you can see now, I've really got it separate in my head because it's become an anecdote, it's become a story, it's become something that's memorable. So even that gets easier after time. Is it okay to be constant to study Monday French, Tuesday German, Wednesday Italian? Would you suggest at least 2 days for every language? So Fernando, if you're learning new languages, completely new languages that you've got no relationship at all to any of the languages you speak, definitely at least 2 times a week, and split it out as well. Don't have them like back to back, like Monday, Tuesday. So for example, with Maori, I do Maori on a Monday and a Thursday. I do Basque on a Tuesday and on a Saturday, and so I try and split them up, and I find that useful. Because I want to take them a bit further, they are challenging very, very new grammars for me, very new vocabulary for me. So yes, I would say do that. If you're talking about languages that are similar to ones you already speak, you may get away with 1 hour, one contact hour, 1 active hour a week, and then just revising during the week. And you might just find you move on with that. So with Indonesian, for me, for example, I only do 1 contact hour a week because I don't have time, unfortunately, to do more. And I'm revising what I learnt 3 years ago and trying to then take it a bit further forward. Okay, so here we go. Hey Richard, har du svårt att skriva väldigt lika språk som norska, svenska, danska eller är det olika för att skriva dem? Ja, det spelar ingen roll för mig. Jag kan förstå alla 3. Men jag har studerat svenskan på universitetet i Storbritannien. Men jag har studerat också norska och danska. Men det har jag gjort det bara här hemma. Så jag har gjort bara ett projekt som var bara 3 månader eller någonting. Och jag använde de där språken när jag var i Norge och i Danmark. Men just nu så det är inget svar att förstå alla 3 som man som en svensk som bor i Sverige eller någonting. Så det spelar ingen roll, det är inte svårt att göra det. Men att prata dem, så att göra skillnader mellan norskan danskan och svenskan, så det är annorlunda. Det är så jätte annorlunda och jättesvårt att göra. För att när du försöker att göra det jätteflytande, så kommer du inte ihåg vad är orden för de där sakerna där, till exempel. Men för mig är det, ja, är det jättekonstigt när jag läser någonting nu, till exempel på norskan eller på danskan här. Så jag måste titta lite grann och jag tänker lite grann på vad det betyder, men vilket språk är det? Så det är jättesvårt att göra. Och då att jag svarar då, så är det svårare för mig att göra. Men med svenskan så är det för mig ett språk som jag studerade på universitetet, så det spelar ingen roll. Jag kan alltid prata svenska. Jag alltid pratar svenska, så är inte så svårt att göra. How many hours do you consider are necessary to achieve a conversational level, not advanced? Scientific topics, okay. Depends on the language, Minicio. It really depends on the language. So a basic conversation, I mean, I could have a very basic conversation in Indonesian after 3 months. When I went to Indonesia and spoke to the locals and enjoyed mixing with people and telling them about me, about my family, bartering in the local market, buying things, asking directions, talking about the weather, talking about food, talking about all those kinds of basic stuff, basic things like that. Maybe about 3 months or so in Indonesia. And then I studied Georgian for 6 months. Was it 3 months or 6 months at university in Sweden, and but I still couldn't say very much at all. So it depends on the language. And then, I mean, now with Basque and with Maori, I've been learning them for over 3 months, and I still can't say very much at all. I can say some things, but yeah, I mean, it's not amazing. Same with North Sami. I've been learning North Sami now for, what is it, 3 weeks? I could probably say more in North Sami, actually, strangely, than I can in Basque, which is really sad. But I think because North Sami is a lot more like Finnish, and I studied Finnish officially I did it to A2 level officially. So I think probably because I remember the grammar and the vocabulary from Finnish, it's helped me understand the North Sami and make the connections more easily. But yeah, it takes time. I mean, it just takes time. Even with Armenian, I studied Armenian for like 6 months, and I was still not very good at it. After 6 months, I couldn't say very basic. I mean, some things, yeah, I could say obviously, but I wasn't particularly good at it. And then a similar language like Norwegian, within a month, I could get by Norwegian quite easily because I spoke Swedish. And then when I went, I did it specifically to go to Norway and speak Norwegian instead of Swedish, just because I wanted to show some respect to Norwegians, and it worked. People responded to me in Norwegian, and the same with Danish. I've done it in Danish too, and it worked, and people responded to me in Danish. Right now, I'd say it'd be easier for me to speak Danish than Norwegian, but my Danish, as soon as it gets to the numbers, my numbers have all gone again. But then I think most Danish people would agree that Danish numbers are a nightmare. Halvfjerds, halvfems. Yeah, det är svært. Det är svært. Okay, wow. Like me say, I want to learn just by listening and speaking. So I met a few polyglots who do that. Imitating, I guess you do the same, but me particularly, I need to take time to good grammar, reading. No, I'd say actually I need. So speaking is really important. Practicing is really important for me. Repeating, getting things wrong many times is really important to me. I would say that actually I do need to see grammar. I do need to see things written down. I do need to practice in the traditional way too, and I do need some sort of structure. So all of that. How do I split my time between languages? Yeah, I just do what I can when I can, really. So when new languages, new projects, I just do. I set out in my calendar. I make time in my calendar that I put in. Now this is when I'm going to do this. This is when I'm going to do that. Otherwise, you'd end up just running and doing a whole lot of nothing. That's what I have to do. Unfortunately, I only have 1 more minute and 20 seconds left remaining on this live chat, and then I'm going to get closed down here on Instagram. So it will be a natural end, unfortunately, to this beautiful time with you all. I'm really very grateful for you all for joining me and for being part of this live chat. Thank you so much. I'm going to be back again next week, so I didn't get to your question. I apologize, and I will definitely try and answer your question when I get to it next year. So, John, I sound like a Norwegian. Is that when I speak Norwegian or when I speak Swedish? Hopefully, you're going to say when I speak Swedish. Sometimes, actually, after I learned Norwegian, Swedish people did say to me I sounded a bit Norwegian when I spoke Swedish, and then Norwegian said I sounded a bit Swedish when I spoke Norwegian. I don't even know what to think anymore. Uh, it's very fun, very, very fun. Oh wow. Yeah, and hopefully one day I just saw a whole message now as I get to the end of this in Hungarian. Hopefully I'll get to Hungarian and hopefully I will learn Hungarian too. So many languages, so little time, and they're all beautiful. Thank you everyone for joining me, and I would love to talk to you again soon next week. So please do join me. All the very best. Bye bye.